Before we start with the video, I want to let you know that if you want, you can leave a message below in the comments with the title of the story you want me to create and I will create it for you. Now let's start with the story. In a smoky corner of the intergalactic dive bar, a group of aliens huddled around a table, their drinks glowing in all shades of neon. Zorblax, a leather-skinned creature with 6 eyes and a knack for storytelling, was regaling them with tales from his travels. All right, listen up. Zorblax tapped the table with one of his suction-cupped fingers to quiet the group. You've heard of Earth, right? The table went silent. A few of the aliens glanced nervously at each other. Earth, murmured Blarg, a gelatinous blob with tentacles. You mean the Death Planet? The one the Galactic Council won't let us visit. Exactly that one. Zorblax grinned, baring his sharp, luminescent teeth. You think the stories are bad? Trust me, they understate the danger. Earth is the most insane planet I've ever visited, and the inhabitants. Oh, ho! The humans are like those tiny furry creatures that explode when you poke them, except dumber and with nuclear weapons. The aliens shuddered. Start from the beginning, Zorblax, croaked Zilton, a lizard-like being with a raspy voice. What makes Earth so dangerous? Zorblax leaned forward, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Okay, first of all, the entire planet is out to kill you. It's got oceans that pull you under, forests where the trees just drop things on your head for fun, and creatures, get this, that live inside the water, waiting to bite you if you so much as stick a toe in. No way, shrieked Glip, a tiny, insectoid alien with large, twitching antennae. I'm serious. Humans call them sharks. They're like flying death machines, only they swim, and they've got rows of teeth. It's a nightmare. But that's not even the worst part. What's worse than an ocean full of teeth? Blarg's tentacles wobbled with anxiety. Zorblax grinned, leaning back in his seat. The humans. I'm telling you, these creatures make no sense. They can't breathe underwater, they don't have claws, and they don't have fangs. You'd think they'd be easy to avoid, right? The group nodded. Wrong. They're the most dangerous things on the planet. Somehow, without any natural weapons, they figured out how to control everything. They can fly through the air, dive to the bottom of their oceans, and even launch themselves into space. That doesn't sound too bad, Glip said, buzzing nervously. Oh, I haven't even gotten to the terrifying part yet. Zorblax's eyes gleamed. You know how most species, when confronted with something dangerous, either fight it or run away. Humans, get this, they film it. The aliens gasped. Wait, Zilton interrupted. So, you're telling me they see a deadly creature, and instead of escaping or defending themselves, they stand there and record it? Exactly. Zorblax threw up his hands. There was this one human, right? I saw him approach one of these massive reptiles, crocodiles, they're called. A walking mouth with legs. You'd think he'd run away? Nope. He just got closer, talking to a floating rectangle and smiling while the thing tried to bite his head off. Zilton's scales paled. What kind of death wish is that? They don't stop there, either, Zorblax continued. They've got places on the planet where the ground shakes and lava explodes out of mountains, humans call them volcanoes. Now, any sensible species would avoid that. But humans? They walk right up to the edge, holding their little recording devices, grinning from ear to ear. It's like they enjoy playing with fire, quite literally. The group was now wide-eyed, transfixed by the insanity. And their weather? Zorblax exclaimed, throwing up his tentacles for emphasis. You think a storm would make them hide? Nope. They've got these giant spinning clouds of destruction, tornadoes, they call them, and instead of escaping, some of them actually chase the storms. They drive directly into the danger, laughing and calling it a good time. Madness. Blarg gurgled, his gooey form jiggling in disbelief. Oh, it gets better. Zorblax grinned even wider. Humans have invented ways to blow each other up from across the planet. They've got these things called nuclear weapons, which are basically like setting off a miniature star on your planet. But instead of being terrified of their own creations, they spend most of their time arguing over who should get to have the biggest one. It's like giving a child a laser cannon and seeing what happens. The group collectively winced. Who even lives like that? Glip buzzed. Don't they realize they're sitting on a death trap? They know, Zorblak said, taking a long sip from his glowing drink. They just don't care. These humans have this saying, YOLO. It stands for you only live once. They basically admit they've got a short lifespan and then proceed to do the dumbest, most dangerous things possible during it. Blarg slumped over, his tentacles sagging. I don't understand how they've survived this long. Well, here's the kicker, Zorblak said, chuckling darkly. They've gotten so good at surviving their own stupidity, they're starting to look beyond Earth. That's right, now they want to visit other planets. They're poking around in space, sending probes, looking for new places to colonize. The table went silent. Everyone stared at Zorblak's, horrified. You mean, they might come here? Glip's wings buzzed anxiously. Could be, Zorblak shrugged. Which is why the Galactic Council put them on the do not visit list. No one's allowed to go to Earth anymore, and for good reason. One wrong move, and they'll figure out how to turn a pebble into a planet-destroying weapon. But hey, if you're feeling brave, you could always drop by and see for yourself. The entire table shuddered as one. Pass, Zilton croaked. I'd rather swim with the space eels. Zorblak laughed, raising his glass. Wise choice. Here's to avoiding Earth, the deadliest planet in the galaxy, with the most reckless inhabitants. They clinked their glasses together, each one silently grateful that the humans were still a distant, terrifying mystery, at least for now. But they didn't have time to finish their conversation when the door of the bar opened and a human walked in. The bar went dead silent. Every alien stopped what they were doing to stare at the odd, fleshy being who had just strolled in like it was the most normal thing in the galaxy. The human, dressed in some kind of blue fabric and wearing a shirt that said, "Keep calm and drink on," blinked a few times, clearly unfazed by the crowd of bug-eyed, tentacled, and multi-limbed aliens gaping at him. Zorblak's jaw dropped, and he dropped his drink. No. Freakin' way. The human strolled up to the bar, glanced at the glowing menu above, and casually said, "Yeah, could I get a beer? Or, I dunno, whatever's local." Surprise me. The bartender, a massive creature with 6 arms and a head shaped like an eggplant, just stared at him, dumbfounded. Did he just order a drink? Whispered Blarg, his gelatinous body quivering in shock. Zorblak leaned over the table, his voice hushed. It's got to be some kind of hallucination. Maybe I'm still drunk from last night. No human would voluntarily come in here. But the human was real. He casually sat down on a stool, glancing around as if he'd walked into his local dive bar back on Earth. The bartender nervously poured him something green and bubbling into a cup. The human lifted it to his lips and took a big swig. Everyone gasped. Holy! This stuff's strong, the human sputtered, shaking his head like a dog shaking off water. Tastes like someone mixed whiskey with battery acid and a hint of lime. Love it. Gimme another. The bar was in chaos. Aliens whispered and gossiped, eyes glued to this bizarre scene. Some were convinced they were witnessing the most dangerous creature in the galaxy in action. I heard they can drink toxins and survive, hissed Glip, buzzing nervously from his seat. I once read that they have a sport where they throw themselves off cliffs on purpose, added Blarg, eyes wide with fear. Zorblak had had enough. He stood up, all 6 of his eyes narrowing as he marched over to the human. He wasn't going to just sit there and let this Earth creature act like he belonged. Hey! Zorblak growled, planting one of his tentacles on the bar next to the human. What do you think you're doing here? The human looked at him, utterly unfazed. Oh hey, what's up, man? Just grabbing a drink. This place is awesome. You guys got karaoke or something? Karaoke? Zorblax blinked. You're not scared? Of us? The human squinted at him, clearly confused. Scared? Dude, have you ever been to an Earth dive bar on a Saturday night? You see a dude with 2 mullets wrestling a gator in the parking lot, and that's when you get scared. This is chill, man. I dig the whole vibe. Zorblax recoiled slightly, not quite sure how to respond. But we're aliens. Yeah? The human chuckled, raising his glass in a mock toast. Well, so am I now, I guess. Guess I'm the weird one here, huh? A few of the aliens gasped, others whispered to each other. What is this thing? Zorblax muttered under his breath. It's like it's completely immune to danger. The human tapped the stool next to him. Come on, sit down. You guys don't look so different from Earth after a few drinks anyway. Bet you got some killer stories. Zorblax hesitated but sat down cautiously. You don't understand, do you? This bar is filled with some of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. You shouldn't even be alive right now. I told these guys last night that humans are reckless, dangerous, and borderline suicidal. The human grinned and downed the rest of his drink. Sounds about right. We call it weekends. But don't worry, I'm not looking for trouble. I'm just here for the drinks. Maybe hit up an intergalactic pub crawl, you know? Pub crawl? Zorblax asked, completely dumbfounded. Yeah, man. You hit up different bars, try weird drinks, maybe eat some questionable food, see where the night takes you. You're doing that, here? Why not? The human winked. Heard the galaxy's got some crazy nightlife. Zorblax blinked. He looked over at the bartender, who was still too stunned to move, then back at the human. This thing had walked into a bar filled with creatures who could tear him limb from limb without a second thought, and he was talking about pub crawls like this was some sort of interstellar vacation. You've got guts, I'll give you that, Zorblax muttered. But what makes you think you'll survive the night? This place isn't like Earth. The human laughed and clapped Zorblax on the back, nearly knocking the alien off his seat. Buddy, you'd be surprised what we humans can survive. I once ate a gas station burrito at 3 a.m. and lived to tell the tale. This? He gestured around the bar. This is nothing. At that moment, Blarg slid over, wobbling nervously. Human, you realize that drink you just had could dissolve a Throxian's tentacles, right? Fut, the human waved him off. We've got worse stuff on Earth. Ever hear of something called moonshine? Burns are going down, but you don't mind after the first few sips. Got any of that here? Blarg just gurgled in disbelief and slunk back to his seat, overwhelmed by the sheer recklessness of this human. Zorblax shook his head, chuckling despite himself. You're either the bravest or dumbest creature I've ever met. The human grinned, raising his glass as the bartender cautiously refilled it. I'll take that as a compliment. Here's to intergalactic friendships. He lifted his glass high, toasting the room full of wide-eyed aliens. And slowly, one by one, they lifted their glasses too, still not quite sure what to make of the human, but unwilling to risk angering the craziest species they'd ever met. For hours later, the intergalactic dive bar was busier than ever. Aliens from all corners of the galaxy filled the space with a hum of conversation, the smell of burning plasma, and the occasional puff of smoke from a reptilian creature that seemed to be on fire, but wasn't. It was just another regular night. At the center of the chaos, there was one alien sitting completely still. Zorblax. He was staring in disbelief at the human who, after finishing his third drink, some kind of blue, fizzing liquid that could melt the circuits of a sentient robot, was still standing. Not just standing, he was dancing. What is he doing now? Blarg whispered, his gelatinous body quivering in disbelief. His tentacles flopped onto the table like soggy spaghetti as he watched the human awkwardly shuffle to the beat of some intergalactic tune that no one else could hear. Zorblax rubbed his eyes with two of his tentacles, still trying to make sense of it. He calls it dancing, apparently. Some sort of Earth ritual. But it looks like he's trying to escape invisible space bees. The human, mid-wiggle, waved his arms above his head and spun in a slow circle. "Hey, have you guys ever heard of the Macarena?" he yelled to no one in particular. "What's a Macarena?" Glip buzzed, looking increasingly concerned as the human's movements grew more erratic. The insectoid alien flapped his wings nervously, as if ready to flee in case the human spontaneously exploded. The human didn't answer, he was too busy busting out what could only be described as horrifying moves. His limbs flailed around, his feet stomped randomly, and at one point, he attempted a split, only to realize halfway down that he wasn't nearly flexible enough. He stood up awkwardly, acting like nothing had happened. "Is he injured?" Zilton asked, eyes narrowing in concern. Zorblax shook his head. "Nope. That's just how they move when they're having a good time." "Having a good time?" Blarg gurgled, his tentacles trembling. "It looks like he's under attack by space slugs." The human stumbled back over to the bar, breathing heavily but still grinning. "Man, you guys are missing out. This place needs more of a dance floor. Have you ever seen a human wedding? I once danced for 4 hours straight. Got a cramp, but it was worth it." Zorblax blinked. "You call that dancing? It looked more like you were being electrocuted." The human laughed, slapping Zorblax on the back. "Or, come on, you guys don't dance? What do you do for fun around here? Play space chess? Knit space sweaters?" We mostly try to avoid getting killed," Zorblax muttered. The human paused, blinking in confusion. "Avoid getting killed? You guys are in a bar. It's a party. Relax a little. Have some fun. You only live once, right?" Blarg shuddered. "They say that every time before doing something stupid." Zorblax sighed. "Human, do you not realize that the last 3 drinks you had could dissolve most alien stomachs? Your dancing looks like a cry for help, and every single alien here is quietly planning their exit in case you spontaneously combust." The human shrugged, grabbing another glowing drink from the bar and raising it in a toast. "Hey, life's short, man. Gotta enjoy the ride. And besides, I've got this thing humans call, wait for it, the high tolerance." He winked, as if that explained everything. Just then, the doors to the bar slid open with a whoosh. A new figure entered, an enormous alien, 7 feet tall, covered in spikes and armor, with 6 eyes glowing red and a weapon that looked suspiciously like a plasma cannon strapped to its back. The whole bar went silent again. "Who is that?" the human whispered, leaning over to Zorblax. "Looks like the boss level of a video game." Zorblax's face went pale. "That's Krelock the Destroyer. He's wanted in 9 sectors for obliterating moons. He's the most feared being in this quadrant." Krelock stomped up to the bar, his red eye scanning the room before finally locking onto the human. Zorblax tensed, certain that this was the end. The human was toast. No one survives a stare down with Krelock. But the human, unfazed, smiled and lifted his drink. "Hey, man. Nice armor. You wanna do a shot with me?" The bar gasped audibly. Zorblax nearly fainted. "A shot? With Krelock? That was a death sentence." Krelock stared down at the human, his massive, spiked hand twitching near his plasma cannon. The entire bar held its breath. Was the human about to get vaporized? But then, something miraculous happened. Krelock grunted, his eyes narrowing. "What is this shot you speak of?" The human grinned wider, clearly thrilled that he had a new drinking buddy. "Oh, man, it's great. It's like a tiny drink, but you knock it back fast. Gets the job done quicker. I'll show you." He gestured to the bartender, who, still in shock, poured 2 shots of some fluorescent liquid that looked like it could power a spaceship for a week. The human grabbed both, handed one to Krelock, and raised his glass. "To new friends," the human said, clinking his glass against Krelok's, then downed the shot in one go. Krelok, still looking confused, watched the human for a moment before mirroring him. The room held its collective breath. The liquid slid down Krelok's throat, and for a moment, the bar was silent. Then, Krelok's eyes flashed brighter. His body trembled. Zorblax braced for the worst. And then, Krelok laughed. A deep, rumbling laugh that shook the entire bar. "This human. He is brave." The human grinned, clapping Krelok on the back like they were old pals. "That's what I'm talking about. Let's do another." Zorblax's jaw dropped. The most feared warrior in the galaxy was doing shots with a human. By the time the third round of shots had been downed, Krelok was roaring with laughter. The human was attempting to teach him how to fist bump, and the rest of the bar was in shock. I don't believe it," Blarg gurgled. "He tamed Krelok with alcohol." Zorblax, still in disbelief, rubbed his eyes. "This human is either the luckiest fool in the galaxy or he's made of something stronger than we can comprehend." The intergalactic dive bar had seen its fair share of absurdities. Blarg once tried to eat a chair, Zorblax almost married a sentient asteroid, and Glip lost his antennae in a poker game. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to what was unfolding now. Dave, the human who'd somehow survived several rounds of lethal alien booze, was teaching a bar full of some of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy how to play beer pong. And the worst part? They were into it. "All right, Krelok," Dave said, wobbling slightly from the booze but still as chipper as a caffeinated squirrel. "When you're holding the ball, try not to, destroy the entire table." Krelok, standing at a terrifying 7 feet tall, nodded solemnly. "I will attempt restraint." His plasma cannon rattled ominously against his armor as he picked up the ping-pong ball with the delicate touch of a malfunctioning wrecking ball. Zorblax watched from his booth, his tentacles gripping his drink so tightly the glass was starting to crack. "This can't be happening. Krelok is an intergalactic warlord, not some frat boy on a keg stand." Blarg oozed nervously beside him. "It's worse than we thought. I heard Dave explaining something called a flip cup. The destruction will be total. But the chaos was only just beginning." Dave, ever the enthusiastic idiot, had assembled a crowd of curious aliens around the makeshift beer pong table, which, after Krelok's earlier incident, was now a slab of reinforced space metal with gravity dampeners. "All right." Dave clapped his hands together, hiccuping. "Next round, let's make this interesting." He grinned maniacally. "Loser has to take a shot of this." From his backpack of horrors, Dave pulled out a bottle of clear liquid labeled with a skull and crossbones. The label read Everclear, a human liquor so potent it was banned in most Earth states and all sane solar systems. The aliens recoiled. "What is that?" Ziltra, a creature with 8 legs and more eyes than sense, buzzed nervously. "This, my friends," Dave said, holding it up like it was a sacred relic, "is a drink so powerful, it could fuel a spaceship or destroy a small planet. We call it Everclear. It's like drinking fire, but fun." Krelok's red eyes gleamed. "I like fire." "Of course you do, big guy," Dave said, patting Krelok's spiked shoulder. "But trust me, even you might want to be careful with this stuff." The whole bar leaned in as the first game of intergalactic beer pong continued. It was Dave versus Krelok, the most mismatched showdown in history. Krelok, using only 2 fingers this time, tossed the ball gently. It still flew like a missile, embedding itself in the side of a nearby jukebox. "Close enough!" Dave cheered. "You're getting the hang of it, buddy." Krelok grunted. "This game requires precision. I will master it." Dave, looking ridiculously pleased with himself, lobbed his ping-pong ball in return. It bounced once, twice, then ricocheted off one of Krelok's spikes and somehow landed perfectly in a cup. The bar erupted in gasps. Zorblax nearly fell off his seat. "How?" How is he so lucky? Blarg, who had been nervously consuming snacks for the past 10 minutes, choked on a small space fruit. He's not lucky, Zorblax. He's human. They do things no one can explain. Kreelok stared at the ball in his cup, frowning. It appears. I must drink. He downed the neon green liquid in one go, then slammed the cup down with a thunderous bang. This drink is weak, he muttered. Give me the fire drink. The crowd gasped. Even Dave hesitated for a second. Everclear? Are you sure? I mean, this stuff nearly killed my buddy Steve, and he once ate an entire pizza while riding a motorcycle through a tornado. Kreelok bared his fangs. I am not. Steve! With a dramatic flair, Dave poured a shot of the dreaded Everclear into one of the alien cups. It sizzled, literally melting the rim of the cup as it settled inside. Kreelok took it without a second thought, raised it high, and downed it in one go. The bar held its collective breath. Kreelok's eyes flared brighter than before. His armor rattled. For a moment, it looked like the warrior was about to explode. But then he burped. A deep, earth-shaking burp that echoed through the entire bar and rattled the ceiling lights. That was delicious. Kreelok said, his voice vibrating like a bass drop at an alien rave. Dave grinned and threw his arms up in triumph. I knew you'd love it. Everclear is basically liquid courage. You're basically invincible now. Zorblax slapped a tentacle over his face. This human is going to get us all killed. But Dave was on a roll. All right, who's next? We need more players. Let's turn this into a team sport. The aliens, inspired by Kreelok's survival and Dave's unwavering enthusiasm, started to cheer. A pair of insectoid twins from the back booth buzzed forward, excitedly waving their claws. Blarg hesitantly raised a tentacle. Even Glip, who normally avoided conflict like the plague, floated over, twitching with nervous energy. Zorblax watched in horror as the entire bar got swept up in beer pong fever. Dave had done the unthinkable. He had turned an entire galaxy's worth of hardened space criminals, bounty hunters, and intergalactic warlords into frat boys at a keg party. All right, Dave shouted over the growing crowd, here are the rules. Teams of 2, we play until one team passes out or, whatever happens when you drink way too much. And remember, don't let Kreelok near the table again, or we'll need another one. The bar erupted in laughter, and soon, cups were being filled, ping-pong balls were flying through the air, and aliens were taking shots of Everclear like their lives depended on it. Blarg slurped another drink nervously. This is madness. Pure madness. Zorblax sighed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Dave may actually be the most dangerous thing in this galaxy. From across the bar, Dave raised a glass in Zorblax's direction and yelled, Zorblax. You and me next, buddy. Prepare for pong greatness. Zorblax buried his face in all 6 of his hands. We're doomed.
If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel and press the like button, it helps me a lot, thank you very much.